Hi everyone, welcome to the mobile security class. So this is the second lecture for this class, and in today's topic are mobile devices and general security challenges. So basically we will talk about what are mobile devices and especially what is a smartphone, and then we'll talk about the general security and privacy problems with mobile devices. So first, before we jump into the technical content of this lecture, we have a few reminders, announcements, and notes. Then we will talk about what is a smartphone. For the following up, we will discuss some general security and privacy issues with smartphones, which is like what we'll include in the following lectures as well. And then in the end, we will discuss more about the course projects, which are the important components of this class. So, our first announcement is about the homework. So, homework assignment 1 will be out on Wednesday. It is not a programming assignment, but does require some knowledge of how Android works. However, if you have never experienced with Android, don't worry about it, because what we require can begin by reading papers. So we have 2 weeks to work on the first assignment, and the task for the first assignment will include read some papers about intent-based attacks in Android, and also design a malicious app based on what you read. So you just need to design it. You don't necessarily need to build the app. So building an app is really optional, but if you build it, you definitely get more scores, like bonus scores for building the app. What we really look for in this assignment is a nice write-up of your design. So basically, you can reason about why you designed it like this, and also why your design work. Okay. So for more questions about assignment number 1, you can ask me, send me emails. But basically, I think the most helpful resource will be the papers. And also, of course, do you still remember the reading material for the first class? How to read a research paper. That can get you really efficient in reading. And also, if you have any questions, just ask me. So we have 4 assignments in the class, and assignments are designed so that you can do active development, testing, and analysis of Android applications. Remember in the first lecture was that we hope you, when you finish the class, you can either be a good security engineer or good security researcher for mobile, especially for the mobile space. So the class is also designed in this way, so you can gradually pick up the knowledge about smartphone security, which is really critical for job hunting as well. For the other 3 homeworks, the deadlines are all on the website, and I also post the details on the course website too. There's one thing I have to warn you about. So because the 4 homework are designed like the whole process of understanding and analysis Android applications, so most likely what you do in assignment 1 will affect your work in assignment 2, which may affect your work in assignment 3, and which may affect your work in assignment number 4. So, but don't worry about it. We do it in a very fluent way, so you don't have to worry too much. You just want to, if you can finish the goals for the assignment number 1, you won't have troubles for the following assignments as well. But in case you run into any trouble, let me know. And I also have one final announcement about the course project. Remember that the first project group presentation is in mid-September, so you better like form groups and choose topics soon. So for the mid-September presentation, so basically what we look for is a literature survey, like previous work related to these topics, and also forming a high-level problem statement, like why do you want to work on this project, and why everyone else should care about this project as well, and also some preparation on working on this project. So, for example, if I want to work on like mobile payment security project, I will do some literature reviews about payment security, not just in the mobile space, but also maybe in the web space. For example, previously, people had done lots of work to demonstrate that you can shop free online. But when you do literature survey, you want to compare what might be new in your work comparing to the previous work. That's more important than just summarize what other people has done, but you want to point out what are the more exciting things here, what's new here. And also for the problem statement, maybe I can say that, for example, previously people don't use mobile devices for payment, but nowadays we see lots of deployment of these mobile payment terminals and many different ways of pay with a mobile phone. For example, you have Samsung Pay, you have Google Wallet, and also you can use many other different ways, like scan a QR code to pay in WeChat account. That's very common in China now. So basically, these new kinds of payment scenarios will also have new security problems because people are implementing these different payment protocols in different ways. So that's why it's a new problem. And also, it's a very important problem because if the payment security is exploited by an attacker, then the attacker might be able to get lots of money from users' wallet. So that could be some high-level problem statement. Basically, what we are looking for is that you can present the problem is important and the problem is new. And also for the preparation of the solution, you don't have to have a very well designed solution in the beginning. For example, I can just say that I think it might be possible to solve the problem in this way. For example, I think it might make sense to analyze these apps for mobile payment and understand how different parties in the mobile payment protocols interact with each other so that we can see the security flaws and also we can design the secure solutions. So because usually most of the research projects have some uncertainty, so you don't have to really come up with 100% sure solution, but maybe you should discuss with me so that we can come up with better solutions, and we will try out to see whether our thinking is correct. Another thing is that I'm building a Google group for this course. Basically, that's a discussion forum for the students. I know there's a few students already sent me emails, but if you are not here, you're just here for the first class here, then send me an email. I will add you into the group. So in the Google group, it's a good place to discuss about project topics, find common interests, and also form teams and also share related works. You can also talk about the course content and also homeworks, but just remember, don't violate the policy for the class. We also might have some additional homework available if you need it to get some bonus scores. So most of our class homeworks are about working on Android. So for our development environment for the class, we just need to use Android Studio, and we can use emulator to install these apps and getting logs from these apps. I'm currently working on getting some Android devices for this class, but it might take a while. So, however, all these homework assignments can be done on emulator, so you don't really need an Android device. have any question regarding this announcements and notes? If you have any question, just email me. Okay, now let's talk about what is a smartphone. Smartphone is actually one of the most important platforms for this lecture, for this class. So half of these lectures will be on smartphone security and privacy. So in today's lecture, I really want to introduce what are smartphones and also what are the security problems with smartphones. Smartphone is a portable computer with telephony services. So it's not like feature phones you can just call and send messages, but you can do lots of other things, like you do emailing and also do gaming. However, to do these tasks, smartphone has lots of sensors for the improved functionalities. For example, smartphone is like a usable sensory platforms. It's not just internet-enabled flip phones, but have lots of useful sensors. For example, smartphone has accelerometers so that it can sense your movement, know your activities. And also smartphone has cameras so that it can take photos and knowing what's around you. Smartphone also have GPS, which is quite important for us to navigate around. Another thing interesting thing for smartphone is that it's very personal. So usually it's just one user device with lots of personal information and services. So smartphone also trying to identify the user, trying to personalize the user, and also it collects so much personal information. So smartphone is like a really, really important holder of all the important information. So it's also become the biggest target for the attackers because users have so much important information on their smartphones. You cannot imagine it. For example, smartphone not just have your phone numbers, not just have lots of passwords of you, it might even have your bank account numbers if you're using some online banking. So it's very critical. Smartphones also have operating system support for multitasking because it allows you to use different apps at the same time or some apps in the background doing some analysis for your work. Okay? And most importantly, it's smart. It can help you. It's like your personal assistant to help you to do many things. And also it's a gaming device. You can enjoy lots of mobile games on it. Smartphone also has expandable software, hardware, mostly software, because for Android you can basically try to flash your phone in many different ways. Hardware, there are some expandable devices you can install on your smartphone as well. Of course, smartphone can provide lots of functionalities, not just based on the operating system or the hardware, but most importantly is that smartphone supports lots of third-party apps. Basically, smartphone app markets are actually much bigger than any other app markets. The users have so many apps to choose from, and they can run these apps to improve life quality. Of course, among so many of these apps, there are lots of dangerous apps, maybe malicious apps, or just some developers are not good enough to write very secure code. So that's also composed a large amount of our class for the mobile security. Basically, we will learn how to write secure code for mobile devices and how can we identify malicious applications. Now let's see why smartphones are smart. Smartphones have so many different sensors, like, for example, cameras, and also smartphones have GPS, and also we have lots of important processors, graphic processors. That people can even run deep learning applications on smartphone nowadays. That's really, really crazy. So smartphones actually have good GPUs. Smartphones also have fast processors, multi-core. Currently our smartphone is probably have more computation power than a laptop 3 years ago. Okay, that's really crazy. All these powerful things in this small device. And of course, smartphones can have multiple wireless connectivities. They have a mobile operating system. They have data services over cellular, and also they have lots of messaging services. They have lots of address books, calendars, and also cellular telephony services. These are not all of what smartphone can do, and in the future, smartphone can probably be more powerful and more, even smarter. But basically, what a smartphone is so many mixes: camera, telephone, GPS, TV size, and laptop, all mixed together is a smartphone. So smartphone has many important components. For example, smartphone has components for communications, for networking, like connect to the Wi-Fi or connect through the data plan. And also smartphone has lots of computation and processing power. Smartphone devices will be able to process many images or videos. You're probably already enjoying the benefits of smartphone being able to do all these computations. And of course, smartphone have good sensors and control systems, so that it can automatically sense the context of your environment and do judgments or do movements accordingly, do actions accordingly. Smartphone is also a good way to do entertainment, to do gaming. So there are so many important components of smartphones. And of course, smartphones also interact a lot with different systems. Like smartphone might talk to the payment terminals. Smartphone might talk to the banks, and also might talk to. Smartphone can also host a mobile passport. This is actually new. I think the U.S. citizens, they can get mobile passport, and also Canadian citizens, they can get it too. I don't remember clearly, but definitely you don't. If you are traveling abroad, sometimes you don't have to bring your passport with you, but if you bring your phone with you, you are good. And also smartphones are also interacting a lot with telephony services. And smartphones are interacting a lot with other outlets. Smartphone can interact with your cars. Smartphone can interact with the sensors in your smart home. So it's like the one and only terminal that users interact with the physical world. So users can configure their cars through smartphones, and also configure the air conditioners, the locks in their home with smartphones. Smartphones is really critical in the whole ecosystem. So now we know that smartphones really interact a lot with other systems. So now, do we have a good definition for mobile computing? Well, mobile computing is not just the computing on the device. Of course, we have lots of onboard computing with the single or multi-core, and also GPU on the phone. But of course, smartphone also upload some of the computing services to cloud computing, like they send data to the remote cloud server. For example, when Google, when you are using the Siri or other voice command services, most of the data will be sent to a cloud server to basically learn what you are talking about. So it's a very important model to basically get data from smartphone and also send to a cloud server to do processing and return the result to a smartphone. So now you can think about it. Lots of data are actually getting out from the smartphone and getting to an unknown cloud server. So if there's anything happen during the communication to the cloud, or anything happen on the cloud server, a lot of users' personal data will be leaked. So besides cloud computing, they also have cloudlets, which is smaller cloud computing servers. And smartphones can also collaboratively do processing and also do peer-to-peer communications. Like you can use Bluetooth to send data to different phones, and also there are also peer-to-peer networks built by smartphones as well. Of course, lots of happening on the embedded computing, the hardware level for smartphones as well. So how do we support this kind of mobile computing? In the past few slides, we can tell that mobile systems really very different from the previous computing systems. We have lots of systems and services and applications we need to support. So that's why new mobile operating systems are really necessary. There are lots of companies propose different operating systems. We probably already lost count of how many mobile operating systems are out there. But in this class, we will only cover the two major ones, which are Android and iOS. Because these two major ones are really representative and dominating the market, so most of the users are using Android or iOS, and most attackers are using Android and iOS for their attacking targets. Of course, we know that for different operating systems, each of them have different standards and also have different services and different styles and behaviors and interactions. Well, that means each operating system also has different vulnerabilities. Remember that in security, if 1,000 people do it in 1,000 different ways, then maybe over 900 people are doing it wrongly. So that's why the diversity of mobile operating systems really provides the security researchers lots of opportunities to find security problems. Even for the dominating Android and iOS, you know that Android has many different versions. And for example, carriers such as AT&T and T-Mobile, they also customize the Android. So basically, you still have many different versions of Android. And lots of users don't really update their mobile phones so frequently. So basically, this still creates lots of diversities in the system. And when you want to make the operating system secure, you need to consider all the different versions. But mobile operating systems are not the most diversified things in the mobile computing systems. What's more diverse are the mobile applications. There are so many different mobile applications run on user smartphones. Android and iOS has become very successful, majorly because they have very good marketplace. For example, for both Android and iOS, users have so many different applications they can choose to install and run to help with their current life. So basically, applications produce lots of great functionalities to a user. For example, I use almost Google Maps every day because I want to use it to do navigations, and as a result, I give my location to Google almost all the time. So what kind of applications should user install, and whether these applications have some malicious code inside could be really critical for users' security and privacy when they are using smartphones. Even worse, the barrier to become a mobile app developer is really low. So almost everyone probably, I don't think you need to really pay anything to be an Android developer. I think for iOS, you probably need to register as iOS developer, but that's only a small chunk of money. And many of the developers, they are not really experienced, and they just develop a simple Android or iOS app, and the app might get really popular. For example, I'm not sure whether you heard about the Flipbird game. So it's a mobile game which gets really popular, but the developer was even scared that it gets so popular and he took the game off the market. So there are lots of cases that mobile app developers are not so experienced. So occasionally, they also make many mistakes. For example, they don't really have a strict constraint about who can get access to the sensitive information on user smartphones, and a malicious attacker could just utilize the vulnerabilities in the mobile apps to know a lot about users' information, and even worse, an attacker might just use bad app or bad or benign but not so good app to exploit the whole smartphone system. So things can get really scary. Another thing I want to point out is that nowadays many of the previous IT companies they are merging their websites with their apps. So previously the web apps are written for the security and privacy guarantee in browsers, but very likely to save development time, many IT companies, they just web app their website and create a mobile app out of the website. And when they do this, they really ignore lots of security problems for just transferring a website into a mobile apps. Therefore, there are lots of new security problems because of this. For example, previously, browsers they have very important security fundamental is the same margin policy. Actually, how many of you guys have taken a web security class? Even if not, it's very easy to understand what means by same margin policy. So same margin policy means different websites, for example, Facebook and third-party websites. They cannot access the content from each other. They are totally isolated by browsers. So for example, Facebook can embed an iframe. Iframe is a simple small window on the website that can display content from another website. So if you saw the advertisement on Facebook, that's usually implemented by iframe. So Facebook can embed a random website in an iframe to display advertisement, but Facebook cannot get the content from the website directly, and neither did the website get the content from Facebook. However, if people just swap the things in the mobile apps, for example, in mobile apps, people usually use WebKit, which is a mini browser for mobile devices. So basically, so for example, Facebook will embed the content of a different website through WebKit. Then WebKit can allows the Facebook to read the content from a different website. This might not sound very scary, but think about it. What if a malicious app just embed Facebook content into their app, and then they might be able to get users' Facebook content, such as users' posts and users' sensitive photos on Facebook. So that can be really, really bad. There are lots of security problems just because people are merging from one mature computing platforms to new computing platforms. Not just from web to mobile, but in the future, like people are just moving the mobile experiences to, for example, Internet of Things, and they create even more security problems. We will also cover this content in these lectures, in the following lectures in this class. So basically the takeaway from this part is that when people are using their previous experiences from a different platform, they always run into lots of troubles. It's the same for the smartphone as well. Remember that back to the time when internet was born, nobody had think about all the threats we would face in the coming decades. For example, the denial of service attacks and the cross-site request forgery attacks, which might allow people to transfer money from user bank account. And of course, cross-site scripting, which is very common nowadays. But when internet was born, nobody had think about this problem. They don't even use HTTPS to protect the traffic, let alone thinking about other security problems. People will always say that we will learn from our mistakes and we won't make them again. Is that true? Actually not. Like just I have mentioned that because the platform is new and lots of user cases and lots of new scenarios happening. So it's not possible for the previous security policies and also previous security implementations to cover the new platform as well. So not surprisingly, nobody has talked about all the threats we would face in the mobile domain. Wow. And as it turns out, the mobile domain is quite different, and we are facing lots of new problems. For example, we have already mentioned that when we need to mesh together all the services on one single device. Well, we should have thought about it more. Okay. Why? Because the mashup of all the apps, protocols, and services and features on modern smartphones has opened a very big door to the threats that nobody completely understands. That's because we have seen that the modern smartphone systems really have so many different components, and to make the smartphone system secure, we need not just to consider each of the components, but we also need to understand how the different parts are really work together, and we need to make them secure as a whole. And also, since mobile computing platform is quite different from the previous computing platforms, many security best practices will not be helpful in this case. So that's why we have lots of new, exciting new problems to work on. Of course, because the system is very complex, the one new threat is usually not just related to one component, it's usually related to several different components. And if you fix one threat, that's not the end of the question. There's still probably several more hidden in the layers that you haven't seen before. We want to talk about a few examples for the mobile security problems. For example, the distribution of malware on Android or iOS are quite diversified. Previously, most of the malwares are just deployed by drive-by download, so which means when users click on a malicious link, so they will start downloading the malware in the link, and the malware will take control. However, currently, malware don't just go into the smartphone by clicking on links. They also go with mobile apps. The apps can have many different ways of hiding malicious behaviors, and it's usually less easy to discover. For example, previously, if people click on one URL on a website, if there were researchers already scanned through the website, they will probably just dump all the links and see which link is potentially malicious. But nowadays, the malware behavior on the smartphones are much more difficult to identify. For example, people could just embed some malicious code in the app and only trigger it when some cases happen. Because mobile apps, they have really lots of code, and also people can obfuscate the code to have the logic of the app. Then it's very difficult for people to really understand what the app is doing, and also, of course, let alone understand its really hidden malicious behaviors. So malware is a more challenging problem in Android and iOS. And even worse, these apps on the smartphones, they are collecting so much information about you. They are collecting your location, they are collecting your phone numbers, your friends' phone numbers, they are collecting your photos, especially the social networking apps. They can steal lots of your private information. If you ever look at the app really carefully before you install the apps, you might observe that many of these apps, they are asking for a lot of more information than they might already need. For example, many of these apps, they ask about your gender, and also they ask about your gender, they ask about your email, they ask about, sometimes they even ask about your age in a stealthy way. But do they really need it? The answer is actually no for many apps. But these apps are collecting this kind of data because apps usually benefit from embedding advertisements in their apps. So for example, there are many apps will display you some ads so that they don't have to charge you for the money, especially many gaming apps. When you open it and play a while, you'll see lots of advertisements. And these apps collect your personal information for this advertisement library they have. And this advertisement library will get you personal information and decide what kind of ads should they display to you, or even worse, they could be utilizing the information for even more dangerous behaviors, like to infer whether they should give you an insurance or to infer whether they should approve your credit card. So there's too much information that the mobile apps can get access to, and it can get really bad for your personal security and privacy. Another point we have mentioned a little bit is that web browsers can interact with the app to subvert web-only or app-only protections. I have given an example about how safe margin policy will be bypassed by apps. But that's not all about it. There are so many interesting ways attackers can utilize to really just bypass web-only and app-only or app-only protections. And the fundamental reason here is that when people designed the mobile operating systems, they didn't consider what happens if web browsers really interact a lot with apps. And they only start to really recognizing the problem when there are lots of such breaches happened. Okay. If you think you're not familiar with web security, don't worry about it, because I will make sure to include the background information when we are talking about the mobile security problems that is related to web browsers as well. And that part could be really interesting because we actually found lots of real problems in the real systems. And with the mobile devices, the Wi-Fi operations really gets more and more popular Many people think that I can live without food for one day, but I cannot live without Wi-Fi for one day. However, with more and more people using Wi-Fi from their smartphones, they also disclose lots of privacy information. For example, you know that when you go to a new place and you turn on the Wi-Fi, do you know what's really happening there? So what's really happening there is your Wi-Fi will broadcast all the SSIDs that you have connected to before. So the SSIDs are the name of the Wi-Fi you have connected to before. For example, here we probably have lots of Wi-Fi ID related to the university. And these SSIDs, they're not just the names of the Wi-Fi, but they also carry the location information of the places you have visited. But when your phone is probing for Wi-Fi connections, they will just broadcast everything. So all the access points will get the broadcast from your phone. So basically, they will know the SSIDs you have connected to and potentially the places you have visited. Think about it, this can get really scary because, for example, if you actually go to class to the university and you actually live around the campus and you have Wi-Fi ID which is associated with your apartment, and when you might travel to your parents' place and you get access to your parents' SSID. So basically, with a few sets of SSIDs, they might be able to recognize who you are and know all the places you have been visiting to. So that also exposes lots of privacy information from the users. Even worse, the sensors on the smartphone can be really helpful to one point to us, but they can also be very helpful to the attackers. Because that the sensors on your phone can record information that does not sound so obvious that they should get access to. One good example is that, do you know that your accelerometer can actually read your password? How can they do that? So remember that when you are tapping on your phone actually moves a little bit, right? Well, the accelerometer will be able to get the data when you are typing the phone, so they would know the way your phone moves. And by doing machine learning from this motion data, they will be able to infer what kind of things you tapped, including your passwords. Well, you might say that it might be easier if we just have randomized the keyboard. But first, it's not useful. People will not like to have to look into the screen and figure out where to tap for the digits. And also, if you only have limited patterns of the organization of the keyboards, then attackers will still be able to figure out eventually by machine learning. Here are a few good examples about new security problems on smartphones. Can you think about any other security problems? If you think about any other interesting things, and you can talk to me, you can email me, and let's see whether it's a good problem to look into. Basically, if it's very specific to a smartphone, that could be a good problem. Even more security problems with smartphones. So during this semester, we will study various aspects of security and privacy in the smartphone systems. But there's no way that we can talk about everything. However, the course is quite flexible. So, like, for example, for the course projects and also later assignments, you have the freedom to expand topic coverage in whatever way you like. For example, if you like to explore more on like the operating system in Android, you can do that. But if you are interested more on the application level, you can also do that. You are totally flexible to do all these things. So, but remember that although smartphone system really important in this class, but that's almost only about half of the class. We're also gonna talk about other platforms like other computing platforms as well. So, what are you thinking about the project topics should also have very diversified. So next we want to talk a little bit more about the course project topics. So when you are thinking about project topics, you should not limit yourself to apps. To think about different components, interdependencies, interactions, because as I have told you that smartphone security, you cannot just fix one component to make it secure, because it's actually interacting with the environment, it's interacting with other devices, and it's to make the whole ecosystem secure. And lots of other interesting problems outside just smartphones. There are lots of interactions, for example, smartphones with cars. You can also look into these problems. And of course, don't limit yourself to smartphone, and also let me know if your projects need other devices like drones and other devices. We can talk about it, and also maybe about smart home sensors. We can talk about it. Just let me know early enough to see whether we really have enough equipment or things we can work on it. But don't be afraid to propose ideas on other platforms. Even if we cannot, we don't have the device for now, we can probably do it later. Okay. So another guideline for picking the project topics is that you should pick an exciting topic, not an easy one. Remember that we understand that research always has some uncertainty, so we'll grade you based on effort, not on results. But of course, the efforts you spent on the project will have something to influence the result, of course. And in the end, I hope we can be creative, be innovative about the cross project. And to summarize what we want to look for the cross projects, we're looking for new, exciting results. That's why I really encourage you to explore new topics, no matter how challenging it seems. But if we can take the first step towards solving the problem, that's already a big success. As I mentioned that we are aiming for really interesting, innovative problems, but instead of the easy, lots of work projects. Previously, when we were offering a similar class in Carnegie Mellon, we had lots of good outputs from the class. We get several conference papers and also industry conferences as well. One example is a work we presented at Black Hat 2016. So the title is 1,000 Ways to Die in Mobile OS. This work was done when I was TA for a similar class in CMU, and basically together with the students, we are looking into the security problems in mobile OS. The interesting point for this project is that when OS was designed, which is an authentication protocol for websites, for example, when you log in with Facebook or when you log in with Google, you will see like login with Facebook interface. So that's OS. Basically, OS lets you to log in into one service with the password and accounts from another service. This was commonly used in websites, and nowadays people are starting using it for the mobile space. So a very interesting point is that when people use OAuth in mobile apps, they are still following the same practice when they use it for websites. But remember, we said that the security assumptions and security guarantees in the web space doesn't really stand in the mobile space. So that's why we found so many interesting vulnerabilities and problems with the mobile OAuth. And for this project, we get bug bounties from Facebook, Tencent, and many other companies that use mobile OAuth in their apps. And this project also have good impacts. So that's what we are looking for the course project. But don't be scared. If you think your project cannot be so impactful, don't worry about it. Let's discuss and take a deeper look into the current trend in the mobile security and we can try to figure out which problems might be interesting and which solutions might be more inspiring for other people as well. So during the whole process of this class, I hope we can work together for these interesting projects and trying to produce some really interesting results. We can also go to conferences to talk about our results, and I think this will be very beneficial for you no matter whether you want to go to graduate school, like for PhD studies, or whether you want to find a good job. This kind of exposure to present your work about security is a really big plus for your resume if you are looking for security-related jobs. So one near deadline for us to submit our course project is to IEEE Symposium on Security and Privacy. We usually call it Auckland. So this conference starts to use a new kind of deadline systems. So it has a rolling deadline, I think, until December. If we cannot make the deadline, we can also considering submitting to another academia security conference, which is Usenet Security. So Usenet Security usually about new things. Actually, Symposium on Security and Privacy is usually generally about many different topics of security. So I think both of these academia conferences are a good fit for our course project. So we have a target on mind. And for some of the students who might be interested in going to Las Vegas, Black Hat is a very good option to really present your work. And also, Black Hat allows you to take two guest students as guests to attend a conference. So that's really nice. You're doing your friends a favor as well. So if we want to submit Black Hat, which usually happen, the deadline usually in April, and the conference usually in July, August. So that's a little bit longer after end of this class, but I'll be happy to work with you to put together the submissions. However, it's always good to have things ready much earlier than the deadline, right? So for the outcome of the project, we're looking for some interesting new results. You might be saying that, okay, I choose a topic which didn't end up producing good result. So for example, I explore this solution, but it doesn't work. Well, of course, doesn't feel good to not have a positive result. However, if you can learn some insights from the negative results and explain where are the challenges and think about potential solutions or just present your insights while implementing the solution will also be very good. So just work with me closely, and I believe we will achieve some interesting results in the end of the semester. And I hope to see you in either in San Francisco or in Las Vegas next year. So in next class, we'll talk about the telecommunication security. So that's basically how does telecommunication works, and what are the security and privacy problems for telecommunications. And also homework 1 will be posted on the course website. And of course, if you have any questions about the homework, email me and I'll be happy to answer your questions. Thank you. Before we wrap up this class, we still have some time left. So I will see you this time to have as a good opportunity to talk to your classmates. I know that we did it for the first class as well, but it seems like we had more students this time. So definitely talk to people to get to know what people are interested in and how can to see whether you want to work together. And another thing is that maybe you want to practice reading papers efficiently. You can use the techniques of reading papers here, which is the first reading for the first class. And also to read the paper is related to homework 1, so you're not wasting time. You basically get more familiar about what will be requested in homework 1. So it's an attack paper talking about how 2 apps can collude with each other to steal users' information. As long as you have any questions, feel free to email me anytime. Thank you. Bye.